Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Pulpit Rewind of the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, and with me by phone,
Gator.
Yeah, I'm down with the stomach flu, guys. So this is not happening today.
You know, this really made me think about something.
What's that?
I really need the logins because how else am I going to continue the show when you die?
I'm pretty sure I've attempted to give you those at least a couple different times.
Gonna need those because, I mean, let's be honest. It was touch and go yesterday for you.
But let's be honest. Even if I were to die tomorrow, you wouldn't do a solo episode.
I mean, it would be more sporadic.
Sporadic. See, consistency is key here, Jeff. Consistency is key here.
And as you well know from knowing me, lo these many years, consistency is not my strong suit.
Not your strong suit at all. Anyway, guys.
I brought you Pedialyte, brother. I'm the only thing that saved you.
You did bring me Pedialyte. I appreciate it.
I was really scared you were going to go tits up.
And over a stomach flu?
Dude, you sounded bad.
Well, it was rough yesterday.
I needed to keep your electrolytes up. Look, the cigar community, the cigar world needs the Bishop.
Speaking of Pedialyte, I'm going to take a big old swig now.
I wonder how that would pair with a cigar.
The strawberry Pedialyte's really good, actually. That's the sad part.
Good.
Like, I actually really like the strawberry Pedialyte. I didn't realize that. It's not a flavor I'd ever had before, but I'm like, you know
You're
what?
You're just going to add it to the rotation.
I very well might. And you know what? It might make me feel better just in general, just to every once in a while throw a little bit of Pedialyte in the mix.
Now, the bonus, I gave you an emergency pack as well.
You did. You did indeed. Yep. So, oh my God. Anyway.
I even thought about buying you some, like, bouillon cubes and, like, instant mashed potatoes, but I thought, no, his mom can do that. But
well, do you really think I'm going to cook?
Dude, you needed to get something in you yesterday, so I'm glad something is staying down or staying in. Because what it sounded like is, you know, you had trouble with both valves in either direction.
Yeah, it was, you know, bad on all ends, on all fronts. So stomach flu is no joke. Like I can't remember if I've ever had this before or ever had anything like that. I mean, I probably have. I mean, maybe I chalked it up to food poisoning or something, but like, holy God,
I've never seen anything take you out of the game that hard, that fast.
And dude, I'll tell you, I haven't slept like this since COVID. Like, honestly, yeah. I have slept so much in the last, 24, 36 hours. It's ridiculous.
You weren't even this sick when you got that raging STD that time.
I've never had a raging STD, you son of a bitch. Don't be spreading those rumors. God.
Nasty strain of syphilis they ain't quite identified yet.
No. That is so not the case. Stop. Oh my gosh. All right. Well,
didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, evidently not. So yeah, it sucks that we're coming off of the high of the top 10 of the parishioners,
that was a good show.
Picks of 2022 with a rewind, but such is my gut. So
yes.
Anyway, we are coming to you from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios in my living room and over the phone lines to Jeff's place. And I
was recommending Aladino cigars to someone just this weekend.
Yeah.
He asked me what I like to smoke, and that was my go-to. I went straight there.
Well, there you go. I mean, they're good smokes. You should like
absolutely.
Them. And then you can get your Aladinos by heading over to Riverman Cigar Company in Crestwood, Missouri, where the cut would be brought to you by them. But I think this episode came along probably just before Dan joined us as a sponsor. I don't believe Dan was a part of the Pulpit family just yet with this episode.
Dan the cigar man.
And you can get your Aladinos and all kinds of other great cigars over there at Riverman Cigar Company. And they do mail order, so you can give Dan a call and get some cigars shipped to you right away. And then we would be remiss if we didn't point out that we also are sponsored by United Cigars.
Oh, I have a one must go if you want to do it.
Okay. All right. Hang on.
Okay.
We all need to live united, but one must go.
That's loud.
Brought to you by United Cigars, makers of La Giana Havana, Abuelo, Red Anchor, Firecracker, and of course, United Cigars. Distributors of Jose Dominguez, Garofalo, Montosa, and Terra Nova, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and Bandolero. Buy United, Smoke United, Live United, United Cigars.
Okay. So what's
Okay,
your
you ready?
Yeah, what's your one must go?
Okay, would it be stomach pain, vomiting,
You son of a
or
bitch.
raging diarrhea?
You son of a bitch.
I mean, I could also throw in crippling depression.
I don't have crippling depression.
Oh, wait, that's me.
God, yeah, everybody thinks I'm suicidal for something. You know what? That came up over that weekend out in Indiana talking with Broccoli Rob and Isaiah. It's like,
Oh my God, did they have an intervention? For
no,
you?
it's like, why does everybody think I'm suicidal? I'm not suicidal. I am not suicidal in any way, shape, or form.
Look,
Anyway.
if you were going to give up, yesterday would have been the day, and you fought through it. So no, you're not.
But to answer your one must go, it's vomiting 100%.
Really?
Oh God, I would get rid of vomiting long before I got rid of either of the other two. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of the diarrheas or the crippling stomach pain, but nothing sucks worse than vomiting. I hate vomiting so much.
I'm gonna have to agree with you because I'm kind of like Jerry Seinfeld. Like, I keep track of when the last time I vomited was, and I'm really proud when I get a good long, like years long record.
Yeah,
and then it all comes to an abrupt end. And
I will say, I felt infinitely better after I did it yesterday.
Well, sometimes you just have to purge the demon.
But I hated it so much. Much. Anyway,
Did you make it to the bathroom or did you paint the wall?
I never painted the wall. I made it to I'm a grown ass adult. I can make it to the bathroom.
Dude, when it's coming out, it's coming out. I mean, you could use that for either thing that happened to you, I guess.
No.
When it's coming out, it's coming out.
I mean, I may admit to throwing up in my kitchen sink.
Hey, at least you made it there.
But
when I was a kid,
we
had the same bowl for salad and for vomit and for popcorn.
Ew.
Yeah. Think about that.
No, the vomit thing. Vomit was always this is just a riveting discussion. I'm sure everyone is loving this. Vomit, there was always a plastic trash can next to the bed so that in case, whatever. But yeah.
Oh, no, when I was a kid, it was the same big green Tupperware bowl.
Not a bowl. Bowls.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, no.
Wash that out, put the popcorn in it, and watch a movie.
Well, that's been a gross one must go.
The One Must Go segment was brought to you by United Cigars. United, we smoke.
And we just lost the United segment, I'm sure. Anyway.
Hey, but speaking of that, I know you don't want to say it yet, but we have a new sponsor coming on, and you guys, you need to hang on and wait for this. It's exciting.
Unfortunately, he had the flu as well, which kind of worked out because we were supposed to record with him yesterday afternoon, and
that was our big show and big announcement.
That was our big show and big announcement, and well, it's probably for the best that he had the flu because he canceled, and then I got the stomach flu, so I would have had. I mean, so it kind of worked out.
I wonder if he gave it to you over the phone. Wouldn't that be something if that became a thing?
I don't think you can get the flu by email, Jeff.
Oh my God! Oh my God! He gave you a computer virus.
Was that your dad joke of the week? Because that was really bad.
We'll go with that.
Anyway, all right. And then
let's get into the rewind.
All right, and then I believe
it's a good one, guys.
It is a good one. So anyway, you're going to hear about our trip that we took in the beginning of 2020 to Chicago, where I scared the hell out of Jeff, and then we're going to have an interview with Tim Swanson of Cigars Daily to hear about his brand American Viking Cigars. So anyway, guys, we'll be back on Friday with an original show, and if all goes according to plan, I'll just go ahead and say it, Jeff. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Oh my God, are you going to say it?
If all goes according to plan, you and I will be sitting down and speaking with Rick Rodriguez of West Tampa Tobacco Cigars on Thursday for Friday's show. So
is it set? Or we're good to go?
It is set. We are good to go. We are scheduled, and we will be having the man himself that won the top spot of the Pulpit Parishioners Top Cigars of 2022 on with us, so we can smoke the West Tampa Tobacco Black and enjoy that and talk with him about his big win.
That's awesome.
Yep. So stay tuned for that on Friday. Otherwise, enjoy the rewind, guys.
See you guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and with me, as always,
it's Gator.
And we've had quite the weekend.
Oh, dear God. Guys, seriously, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to describe what's happened to me in the last 72 hours.
It's been a lot. I'll say that. It has been
There was one bright spot that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was just pure ignorance.
There was a lot of ignorance.
There was a lot of dumb.
But I don't know if anybody should expect anything else from us other than that.
The bright spot of the whole trip was the meetup with the Ashholes at the Ultimate Cigar Lounge.
Oh, definitely.
And Hookah Bar.
Exactly.
Yep.
In Villa Park, Illinois.
Yep.
And we will get
Love
to
those
that.
guys. Love them.
Exactly.
If you guys haven't been there, you need to go to this cigar store. Just an incredible humidor and an outstanding lounge. They've got hookah. They've got a bar next door. It's the whole package.
Tony and Earl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good people.
So,
but let's move into what happened getting there first.
How about before we move into all of this, because Jeff has been chomping at the bit to just...
I wanted to record on the way home.
He wants to rail on me in the worst possible way.
You guys have no idea what's coming.
And so before we get into that...
But I even tried to do a cold open, and he realized that I was just railing on him in the cold open, so he ignored me and is not going to put it out.
Yeah, well, I figured you're just going to do that in the episode, so why do we need a cold open?
I'm going to do that for the next month or two.
Anyway, so... Today we are going to be smoking the AJ Fernandez Dias de Gloria.
It's a gorgeous looking stick.
It is a Gordo. It has a Nicaraguan wrapper, binder, and filler. So it is a Nicaraguan Puro. It was sent to us by the fine folks at AJ Fernandez. So we wanted to thank them for those and give it a smoke on the show.
Yep. You know, this cigar is going to be a bright spot as well.
I would
good
hope.
Looking stick.
I would hope so.
I don't know if you realize this. You know, everybody does those challenges where they get their cigar to stand up.
Yeah,
I got mine standing up.
Yeah, but everybody does it with the ash. You're doing it with the unlit cigar. I don't think it quite counts.
It's not the same.
Not quite the same. So, anyway, it is now time to cut the cigar.
Yes, it is.
Now, I'm going to hand my cutter over to Jeff because I am going to not be using a straight cut.
You're going V-cut, aren't you?
So, while I was at TPE, I got to talk with the fine folks at Calibri, and I finally asked them. Everybody had been talking about this thing forever and ever, and I'd seen it on Instagram and whatever else, and so I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to ask the folks at Calibri about the Deep V cutter, and they showed it to me. And this thing, I mean, it's gorgeous. It's heavy. It's a significant piece of machine. I mean, when you hold it, you feel like you're holding a really quality item.
So many jokes.
Stop, Jeff. Anyway.
So many jokes.
And so...
No, I want to jump in here. You're exactly right. I am very impressed with that cutter. I'm a little jealous of that cutter, quite frankly.
And the simple fact is, this cutter is only $39.
Worth every penny.
I mean, realistically, if this cutter were put out by another company... Cigar. It would be probably $150, you know, but it's not. It's a $40 cutter.
It is a quality
and
item.
It works great. So I'm going to be using the Calibri Deep V cutter.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I need to track one of those down for myself simply because I run into that sometimes with the straight cut where you get the little bits of, I've already made my straight cut, but thank you. That was very nice to offer. He was offering me the V cutter. It's one of those situations where, you know, occasionally you'll get that little bit of tobacco that flakes off and you get in your mouth. And I don't find that with the V-cut.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and if it's a bigger cigar, I sometimes will...
Which is all you smoke.
It's true. I mean, it's true.
We learned some stuff about Lanceros and whatnot this weekend.
We did.
Yeah, we got some knowledge to impart.
And, but sometimes I like to do the double V, the little crisscross on the end there.
So douchey.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great.
I told him to go for broke and do a triple V.
I don't know how that would work. Basically, I'm straight cutting it at that
Essentially,
point.
yeah.
I'm just carving it off bit by bit. So I am now going to light my cigar. And I just realized I did so without doing a cold cold draw. So
or the cold retro.
Well, I'm not going
the patented Gator cold retro.
I'm not going to do the cold retro. So
I was able to tell an entire room of cigar smokers about the cold retro, and they were just mesmerized by it and can't wait to do it.
I think they were more mesmerized by the idiocy of the concept.
By the amount, that or the amount of felonies we admitted to during our discussions.
I mean...
Am I lying?
Unfortunately, probably not. But we sure as hell won't be admitting them here.
No. That's the thing you got to come to the meet and greets for, folks. Mm-hmm. That's where the magic is happening.
Yeah, all the stories that we say we can't do on the podcast.
Oh, we did them.
We did them. You just do them in person.
And essentially, everyone was just like slack-jawed, like just mortified by what we said.
Well, I just don't think they realized just the sheer level of ignorance
that
follows
idea.
us around.
No idea what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah.
But everybody seemed to have a good time at our expense.
It was a fun... Yeah, I know, right? It was a fun time.
It really was. We had a great time.
So
thank you again to the Ashholes. I'm going to do
I was going to say, I'm waiting on you to do your stupid
Well, I had
retro.
to get my cedar off and my pretty little ribbon and, had a lot going on.
It is a very decorative cigar.
Yeah, I had to get the ribbon off, had to get the cedar off. This is a nice cigar. Double-banded. They went all out. They spared no expense.
They did. And the box itself is a gorgeous red color. It has a slightly rounded top to it. Ever so slightly rounded top to the box. And I heard why they did that.
Okay.
Originally, I had one retailer who will remain nameless because I don't want him, outed as kind of ragging about it. They were ragging about the box and basically saying you can't stack them, because the top is rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing. The top is rounded by design by A.J. Fernandez because he feels as though it's such a superior cigar, nothing should be stacked upon it.
See, now that's marketing. That's genius. I love that. It's the pinnacle, as it were.
So, there you go. That's apparently why the top of the box is rounded. So what are you getting?
Boy, it's a shame you didn't cold retro this cigar.
God.
It is, I'm trying to figure out what the flavor note is.
I don't know, but
it's
maybe tell us.
Almost licorice.
Really?
Yeah, like a licorice flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not on the cold draw, it's on the cold retro. So everybody out there, you smoke the cigar, give it a try. Let us know if you noticed it as well.
What do you get on the cold draw?
Cigar.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, will you just light the damn thing?
I don't even want to hear it. And you...
No, I did
everybody,
one thing. I did one thing wrong. One thing.
The trip.
No.
We can get Angela on the phone. That's all I'm going to say. We have a witness to all of this.
The food was your fault. I did one thing wrong.
The food was my fault.
Oh, we'll get into that.
I didn't pick the horrible pizza place.
Well, I mean, I just threw out that there was pizza. I didn't know. Anyway.
How was that my fault?
You also weren't, looking for any options either. We go to the one... We'll get into this, folks. We'll get into this in just a minute.
Oh, we are chomping at the bit to just have at each other. You guys have no idea. There's so much tension for this trip.
We've spent...
Pent up anger.
We have spent a lot of time in the car and in close proximity to one another, so there's a lot of, things to discuss here.
Our dear friend Angela, who rode with us,
had to bail and basically spend most of Saturday by herself just to get away from our general fuckery.
I wish that was a joke, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so now that you've lit the cigar, what are you getting?
I don't know yet. What are you getting on it?
It's kind of earthy.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
A little spicy.
Maybe peppery.
I would say a little spicy.
Yeah.
Kind of earthy.
I didn't get much on the retro hail I just did, though.
I haven't done one yet.
Oh, it'll knock you on your ass.
Oh, okay.
Come on, give it a shot.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, hold on, folks.
Oh my. Yeah, that's spicy.
It is, but I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It's just spicy.
Yeah, it's flavorful. I just can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's all right. So anyway.
So, you want to start chronologically?
Here's the thing. Before we even get in the trip, we have some actual business to attend to in this show, you know.
He's trying to put me off, folks, because he does not want me to go where I'm going.
No, we got to tease and keep people hooked and interested. But I've got good stuff for the show all the way through.
Tease it up.
So, aside from having our regular Tuesday Ask the Boys segment and talking about the trip,
yeah,
I have an interview.
You do?
I do. So,
you want to do the interview now?
Yeah, I want to get into that now.
Okay.
I want to do that now.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to have at you.
I was going to say, because if you and I are going to end up getting into fisticuffs, I want the show to be primarily done.
Somebody's getting a cigar put out in somebody's eye.
Yeah, if we're gonna end up beating the hell out of each other, I want the show primarily done before that point.
You know, it's going to be like fat bastard sumo wrestling between the two of us. That's what it's going to look like on the video footage.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Because they have security cameras here.
They do. So anyway, I spent some time this week talking with Tim Swanson of Cigars Daily. And Tim has been in the cigar business for a long time. You know, he has his shop and everything like that, very successful shop, and has done a great job putting out information and communicating with the cigar industry and the cigar consumers with all of his YouTube videos and everything like that. But he has now entered another phase in his
new realm, as it were,
in his new cigar career, and he has launched American Viking Cigars.
Whoa, wait.
Yes. So,
cool.
He took all of the cigars that he did as like exclusives for his shop, you know, kind of house brand cigars, and they've taken those cigars, they've given them names and everything like that, and now they're making them available, you know, to everybody.
Well, that's awesome.
As a brand. So they only launched, this episode is going to hit on Tuesday the 25th, I believe. Tuesday the 25th. They only launched on Monday the 17th.
Oh, wow. So this is timely.
So, like, this brand has been around for 8 days as of the dropping of this episode. So, I mean, they are brand new. But I got a chance to sit down and talk with Tim about everything that went into his cigar journey and bringing about American Viking. And I think it's really cool. So if you want, we'll go ahead and get to that.
Let's do that. And I'm actually looking forward to see what he had to say.
Yep, we'll get into that. So I'm joined today with Tim Swanson of Cigars Daily and now American Viking Cigars. How are you, Tim?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm great. So before we get into American Viking, I want to pull this back just a little bit. How did you get into cigars and having your own shop and everything like that? Because I think a lot of people are very familiar with you from your multitude of really great and energetic YouTube videos. And so, but I want to touch on how you got into cigars.
Yeah, getting into cigars was interesting, completely unexpected, not what I was looking to do. I started working at a cigar shop in Phoenix as just a retail clerk. I took over for a lady at a shop that doesn't exist anymore. It used to be called Cigar Warehouse. And she worked behind the counter selling cigars, and she got her master's degree while she was working there. Wow. Because the sort of that nature of cigar shops is that you get, the cigar industry, you get a little bit of downtime, right? Like when you sit behind the register. So she completed her master's degree and then, quit her job to go get a career job. And at the time, I was working on church planting here in Phoenix, and I needed, other jobs just to sort of make ends meet. So I was training at a boxing gym. I was running classes and training fighters. And then I started working at the cigar shop part-time. And, right about the time that the church plant we had to sort of close the doors on it. Right about that time, the opportunity to become operations manager for TNT Cigars popped up. And it was like, wow, this is like a full-time gig. And I already know I love cigars. And so like I talked to Allison about it, and we decided to make the move, and sort of that began what I would say now is the rest is history type thing, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so you got your shop. Tell me how you got going with house cigars then, because that kind of leads into American Viking here. So
yeah, it really does. And I think I meet a lot of people still who followed back from the TNT Cigars days, and that was really where a lot of that began. I saw at TNT the opportunity to start branding house cigars, and so a lot of the old stuff that was on the TNT Cigar Review channel that was released there, I got to sort of start building a lot of those things and having input on the brands and the names and even the blends, and all that was fun, but it never really satisfied the itch that I had for creating new sticks. Like at TNT, it was basically we worked with a lot of great cigar makers, and then a lot of it was bundled stuff with a sticker slapped on it. It was really never, in my mind, really were never able to produce sort of that cigar that added to the legacy of cigars in America, sort of contributed on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And so when I was done at TNT and I'd spoken with my father-in-law and he pitched the idea of him and I doing cigars together, it was one of the things I put out there. I was like, this is something I really want to do. This is in me to do, and if we can get some banded exclusive stuff out there, it would be great. And so that was when we first kicked the doors open. We started working on the Obrigado, and that was our first banded blend to hit the market. And so it sort of evolved from getting to, try some of these bundled stickered shop exclusives into starting to work directly with factories to get exclusive blends made that were just for the shop.
So then now you've got that going, dude. Yep. I mean, I don't know how you have the energy for this, but how did you end up then deciding, hey, we're going to take all these house cigars and you know what? We're going to make a national brand with it and we're going to roll it out and let everybody have these. And now you've got that company going.
Yeah, it was I don't know, an evolution of the whole thing, but truly it's something that's been in the works since very, very early on with Cigars Daily. Jim and I had talked about, some of the exclusives that really, quite frankly, were the thing that cemented Cigars Daily for a lot of people. And some of those exclusives, I think, as people know, are what have become American Viking cigars. Brands like the Box Pressed Rebellion, the Liga Zebra, Obrigado. A lot of that stuff was all from very early on in Cigars Daily. And Jim and I started talking about, what would Cigars Daily be long term? What would these brands, what would these blends be long term? And we knew from, I would say, probably the second or third month of Cigars Daily that we wanted to grow these into national brands. And so that's something that has been a goal for the last almost 2 years now. And everything we've been doing has been, okay, how do we set up for this in the future, in the long run? And, as we worked on coming out with some of the other big, banded blends like the Filthy Viking and now the new Dama Velada that just came out, all of that stuff, we had it in the back of our heads, like, we really want these to be part of the national market. So what do we need to do now to set all that up in the future? And, after a couple years of a lot of hard work, we're finally able to bring it to fruition, which is just the most gratifying thing. I could imagine.
No, I don't even know. Well, I guess that brings my question. So what all does go into, and I know that's like way too broad of a question, but broken down, what all does go into taking a brand and going national with it? That just seems like such a huge daunting task.
Yes, it is. It's a huge and daunting. That's exactly the way I would put it. But I'll tell you, there's, these days there's so much changing and growing with the way that cigars, what has to happen for a cigar to exist on the market. And we've been contending with that for quite a bit of time. It's everything from, making sure that you've got a great relationship with an amazing factory to making sure that you're above board on all of your sort of registration or like FDA type stuff in America.
I was just about to say FDA stuff,
Yeah. There was a lot of work involved in that. And then, once you finally have the right factory relationship, you've sort of managed your, regulatory type requirements, then you actually have to build a business in America, which is its own huge amount of work. And so, then it's about finding, a place where you can warehouse everything. I can tell you that starting American Viking was substantially more expensive as well than starting Cigars Daily. So there's the cost factor in it as well. And then we were very, very fortunate, I think, to be able to end up working with Ed Trevino for American Viking. And we're literally, as I'm talking to you, he's on the road meeting with shops and taking their orders and getting stuff shipped out to them so that they can have it on the shelves. And so it's a big task. It's an expensive task. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, cutting through red tape or working through red tape. And you're right. It's a huge question. It would be hard for me to wrap it all up in one thing, but those are some of the really big pieces.
Gotcha. So tell us about American Viking. You've thrown out it sounds like you have quite a bit of cigars kind of underneath the umbrella already. But tell us a little bit about, your lineup and everything like that, and just kind of how the reception has been so far. 'Cause you guys didn't launch this too terribly long ago, right?
We launched it. We're speaking on the 20th. I think we launched it this last Monday.
Oh my gosh.
On the 17th, 3 days ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've launched.
Yeah, only
just
3
been 3 days.
Man.
I think we've got about 10 shops that have placed orders, gotten everything in, and now we're going to be working to grow and continue bringing those partners in. I think there are about 60 shops right now who are working on applications and smoking through samples, trying to figure out exactly which lines they want. But as far as American Viking goes, obviously the genesis for some of these blends was Cigars Daily exclusives. They used to be exclusive to Cigars Daily, and now they're going to be a part of the national market. But we really honed in on, what is it that people are really after. And we've really had some amazing metrics for that, because from our platform where people follow on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, we've got people all over the country and even all over the world giving us feedback on exactly what they're looking for.
Well, yeah, that's true. You've almost been product testing this line for years with the house exclusives.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So we're nonstop listening to people. It's about, what do you want in the blends? What do you want in a brand? What do you want even in a boutique brand, like in the character of a boutique brand? What is it that you guys want, and what is it that will connect with you guys? And, when we landed on American Viking, we were like, this really seems like it's close to the heartbeat of, everybody who follows. There's a lot of pride in the American side of it. There's a lot of pride in the Viking side of it. Ed uses, he has a tagline written down on our paperwork. I think it's something like, the American strength with that sort of Viking integrity piece. And so that's sort of the heart behind the brand. But as far as the blends go, obviously one of our big flagship brands is the Filthy Viking. And it's a Honduran blend with a Habano wrapper, and it's my cigar. I'm the Filthy Viking, and that one's been close to my heart for a long time. But mild, creamy, smooth, with authentically flavor notes of butter right from light up, which is like, it's something that we get from that cigar that I haven't gotten from any other sticks.
Wow.
Then following that is the brand new Dama Velada. And this is it's got let me see, make sure I say the wrapper right. Habano Rosado Oscura Luz. It's essentially a dark Rosado Habano wrapper. And it's just wildly brilliant, really strong flavor with notes of a little bit of leather in there, some of the darker notes like leather and chocolate, but also a little bit of that cedar and a really vivid sweetness to the wrapper leaf, which in the reviews, I talk about this all the time. That's a huge deal to me, that wrapper leaf comes with an inherent sweetness. And that's our newest one that just launched last Monday with the company. And then Liga Zebra is a barber pole that uses, I believe, Honduran, Ecuadorian, Dominican tobaccos in it. Very smooth, very creamy, and a mild to medium stick. And then in the more medium-bodied range is the Obrigado, our first banded blend from Cigars Daily that has now transferred over to American Viking, which is a dark Habano wrapper, a very medium-bodied flavor. And then, of course, the Box Press Rebellion, which is a dark Habano wrapper, really dark. And that one has actually emerged as one of our fullest bodied sticks, one of our fullest bodied blends. We really thought Dama Velada was going to come out like that. But as we've gotten more people smoking them over and over again, we're really seeing that that stick that has that punch, that has that spice, has been the Box Press Rebellion. And then the last one, and probably one of the most important ones to me, is the Rico Barato, which is our economy line. And that's a bundled stick. It's a Cuban sandwich. It's a boutique Cuban sandwich, so they're in the $3 range.
Okay.
And they've got really incredible consistency and flavor for a bundled stick. So those are a big deal to me, just because for years when I was going through college, when Allison and I first got married and I was in ministry and I was basically paid in peanuts and Bibles, I didn't have money to buy a bunch of cigars. So those bundled sticks were the only thing I could afford, the only thing I could smoke. And so we knew that American Viking had to have a killer bundled stick that was in that, $3 range.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's your catalog. That's the lineup, man.
That's awesome. And yeah, to the point about the bundle sticks, my co-host, he drives a lot. And so he'll smoke when he drives. And so there are days that over the course of the day, he'll light up like 5 or 6 cigars. Well, when you're talking $10 sticks, that suddenly becomes a $60 day. Whereas to your point, it's an $18 day. And so that's a much more affordable way to smoke. And if you're getting something good, then that's just all the better.
The other thing I'll tell you, and this goes back to the fact that American Viking has been something that's been in the back of our minds for almost 2 years, is that we targeted a specific price range for the audience. And that's essentially, Rico Baratos are in the $3 range. And then most of the other stuff is really around between $7 and $9. We've got a couple sizes that are between $9 and $10, but really between $7 and $9 was, for a boutique brand, we felt like we could provide a lot of value, especially with the quality and flavor we were getting. Just to make sure, I see so many boutique brands these days that have great cigars, but everything comes out in the $9 to $12 range.
I was just about to say, it seems like anymore, that's an awesome price point, because anymore it seems like everything's in that 9 to hell, in some cases up to like as much as like $15. Yeah. And honestly, my sweet spot's that 8 to 12. If you're going more than $12, it better be a pretty decent cigar for me to throw down that kind of money on it.
And the thing that, one of the things that's always stuck in the back of my head is way, way back from my days at TNT Cigars, I met a few boutique brand owners who, when we started talking about price points, literally told me that we priced it at $10 because market research said that was the highest point where people would still buy it. And it was like, wow, what a mindset to have, of how much can we possibly charge before people will stop buying it?
Yeah.
This is sort of the opposite of giving people incredible value, right? So we stuck with the value, even though it causes our margins for American Viking to be slimmer than probably a lot of the boutique guys out there. It's allowed us, I think, to provide the kind of value we want to do, and creating sticks that for us, taste like a $12 stick, look like a $12 stick, but cost, $7, $8, and occasionally $9.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So then in terms of sizes, I kind of tend to prefer maybe the larger ring gauge. I know some other people, like the smaller ring gauges. Like, are you guys, what kind of size options are you guys offering?
So I've seen a lot of boutique brands out there that have got like 7 sizes and everything they make.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of weird sizes and shapes, stuff like that, and which is great. But as a retailer, I can tell you that makes it very difficult for me to figure out, like, okay, well, I can't carry 7 sizes of all of your blends, right?
Yeah.
So we targeted the ones that we knew that people were already after. And so for us, pretty much everything is offered in a Robusto, a 5x50 Robusto, a 6x52 Toro, and a 6x60 Gordo.
Love it.
There's only a couple exceptions to that. One of them is we brought back for the Obligado short run size, which is a 5.5x42, and the Obligado has a Churchill. And then the Rico Baratos are available in a Robusto, Toro, Torpedo, Churchill, and a 6x60 Gordo. So there's definitely some variety there, but we really targeted that Robusto, Toro, Gordo being the ones that people are really after the most right now.
That's awesome. So where can folks get these cigars? Because, I mean, obviously right now, as we're talking, you've been going for 3 days. You said right now, the brick and mortar side's a little limited. It is growing, but if somebody's listening right now and they're just like, I got to get my hands on some of these, where can they go?
We are overwhelmingly proud of the shops that have already partnered with us, that we're already getting to work with. And I got to tell you off the top of my head, my brick and mortar partners here in Phoenix, Big Sticks Fine Cigars, RJ Cigars and Mesa, both incredible shops. Fumar Cigars is in North Phoenix. They're actually pretty close to Cigars Daily. And then outside of that, I think Fifth Avenue Cigars in Anchorage, Alaska is carrying this stuff now.
That's awesome.
The Smoking Session in Kansas, they're carrying the stuff. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. And of course, this stuff will be available on cigarsdaily.com for people to get while we're trying to get it into their neighborhood cigar shop as well.
Awesome. And so then, final question, where can folks follow you for more updates about American Viking, Cigars Daily, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so American Viking is on Instagram and Facebook. You can find them at American Viking Cigars. The website is AmericanVikingCigars.com. You can even go sign up there for email updates where you get a newsletter to know, sort of what shops are bringing it in. So when it comes in your area, to know what's going on with the brand, what kind of new releases, what kind of stuff we're talking about doing, and then seeing, what's going on within the company. The big part of the goal, obviously, with American Viking is the same with Cigars Daily. We want to share with transparency, not just our blends, but our company, how we run our family owned and operated company. We want to share how all of that is done and bring people inside the cigar industry. So the other big place to get information on American Viking is on YouTube, on the Cigars Daily channel, where we'll continue to share how we're going about all this.
No, that's awesome. And I'll say, I've told my story on my show a couple different times that, I first got into cigars in July of 2018. So I've only been at this maybe a little over a year and a half. And, when I got into it, it was like this revelation, like, oh my gosh, there's this thing I can do, and I can sit and I can relax and chill and be forced to relax and chill for at least an hour and everything like that. And it was great. And so I'm the kind of guy that when I get into something, I like really dive in and I want to learn a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll tell you, your channel and your videos were highly educational and entertaining. And I really want to thank you for all the work you do putting out, the different educational videos as well as the reviews and everything like that. It's, the reviews are great, but, when you're given like top 10 this, top 5 this, whatever, I mean, that's really great for people that are getting into cigars and looking for information.
Well, thank you. I consider Cigars Daily, myself, my family, incredibly fortunate that I get to do this job of communication because it's something I'm passionate about. But then, I get to combine that with the art and the science of cigars, which I love probably even more.
Yeah.
And really, it's a marriage of passions, and it's something that I'll do for as long as I can.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Tim, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and for Cigar Pulpit. I'm following you guys online, and I appreciate what you guys are doing for the industry too. It's a big thing, and I think that anytime we get a chance to build community, we're hitting the core of what cigars is really all about. So thanks for everything you do too, man.
Definitely, and good luck with the line.
All right, thanks, man. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, bye.
So we really want to thank Tim for coming on and talking to us a little bit. I mean,
that's awesome.
It's great. I think I'm
excited for him.
It's awesome that a guy can have a dream and go from, working in a shop to owning a shop to then
saying, hey, I want to make my own cigars. I want to put my stamp on the cigar industry. And he's doing it, and he's offering, cigars at different price points and everything else. I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to smoking some of his product. That's great.
Yeah, I'll have to get my hands on a few, and maybe we can smoke one on the show here coming up.
That would be phenomenal.
I think so. But he's also a very busy guy, and so I do want to thank him for taking time out to talk with me.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked for a while, and I thought it was really nice. So,
well, cool. So, getting into the trip.
You don't want to do Ask the Boys first?
How about this? Let's do. You just want to avoid talking about this trip at all costs.
I feel like this is like the thing that everybody's going to want to hear. And so it's like we just keep teasing it.
I think we do right now in this segment everything up to the event, because the event was the bright spot.
Okay. We can do that.
Yeah. And it's the Ultimate Cigar Lounge and
Hookah Bar in Villa Park, Illinois.
And they could not have been more cool. That was such a neat place. We got to meet the owner.
Yep. Super nice place.
Yeah. It was, I can't say enough about it.
Nope. It was
really,
great.
really friendly. Just, it felt like we were home.
It was. So, all right.
And then we'll take a break. We'll do Ask the Boys. Then we'll get into the, what went on at the lounge and, go into the bright part of the trip.
Okay. So, Jeff and Angela picked me up on Friday, probably around 2.
It was close to 2.
It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And we set out Chicago or bust, baby.
And we made it to Springfield, and that's when I had to stop for an iced tea. Mm-hmm. And so we stopped at the Panera Bread.
Took a break, stretched our legs.
And Jeff took off his pants. So what we didn't notice, so we were driving Jeff's FJ Cruiser, which, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the FJ Cruiser, it's kind of it's an SUV,
It's built on the Toyota truck platform.
Okay. First of all, it's ridiculously high up with no footstool at all. So
Nick
every time Ange and I had to get into this vehicle, we're like just struggling to get in. Well, then second of all, the back seat didn't have its own set of doors. It had these suicide doors. So you had to open the front door and then open the suicide door and then push the chair forward.
It was that or climb in the hatch.
Yeah, it was awkward. So we're at Breadco or Panera for everybody who doesn't
Not to mention
live in
it's
St.
bright
Louis.
yellow and logoed up with my radio station.
Exactly.
All the hell.
I mean, It looks like a traveling banana billboard, but
it looks like a minion.
So anyway, I'm sitting in the back seat. Andrew's in the driver's seat, and next thing I know, she looks up, and I'm playing on my phone. She's doing something, and next thing I know, she says something about you not having pants on.
So, okay, folks, let me give you a little backstory here. I had set this joke up earlier in the day because I had to be out covering something at the Pinckneyville prison, at the Pinckneyville Correctional Center, earlier in the day. And initially I was going to wear shorts and just kind of shoot stuff out of the vehicle, and then I realized, I'm not going to be able to stay in the vehicle and shoot. I'm going to have to get out and be mobile. So I threw my jeans on, but I threw them over like my workout shorts, like my Adidas shorts.
You don't work out.
Well, they are workout shorts, technically. So I had my shorts on under my jeans, and I thought at some point I actually initially had planned to just strip down in the car while they were sitting there just to mortify them. And I thought, this is a great opportunity. I'm standing there. Nick just got into the back. Angela's climbing in. She's going to take over for me driving. And I thought, I'm just going to drop trowel. And
right in the parking lot.
And I did. And neither one of them noticed.
No, but the woman that was in her BMW in the parking lot noticed and watched the whole thing go down.
I'm sure she did. And so I take my Levi's and I fold them up real neatly and set them under the seat. And I pick my shoes up and set them in the FJ. And I just climb up in the FJ. And mind you, I'm wearing my blue drug rug. I don't know what they're actually called.
Now, let's also stop for a moment.
Yes.
Back up.
Review and reflect.
Just a hair. When I got into the back seat, we noticed a Kit Kat bar on the floor.
We did, because we had to pull the seat up to get Nick in.
And
so
Jeff,
I got a bonus Kit Kat.
Jeff got himself a Kit Kat. What he didn't know, and what we should have all suspected, is this Kit Kat has probably been there since the dawn of time. And when he decided he wanted to eat it, he opened up the wrapper and basically had to It was almost like Go-Gurt kind of thing. You had to like squeeze it out of the package like that instead of actually eat this candy bar because it had like started to jelly.
The wafers, that are normally crisp, were just chewy.
It's gross.
Yeah, and the chocolate had just dissolved.
It was disgusting.
But at that point I was committed, so I went for it. So, needless to say, I climb up in the Jeep, in the FJ, and I realize Angela's not noticed I'm pantsless, nor Nick. So I kind of have my shorts tucked up a little bit where they can't see it, and I'm just sitting there. It looks like I'm not wearing any pants at all.
So that's when she flipped out. That's when I took the video that is up on the Instagram. And
but I do assure you, and especially for Kendra that works at my radio station, who called me in Chicago
in a panic,
screaming at me, thinking that I was butt-ass naked in the FJ that she drives around for work. And I assure you, there were actually shorts. Nick can back me up on that.
There were shorts, but anyway.
But he didn't know it when he shot the video.
No.
So off we go. We get to Chicago. We're getting ready to come into the city. And the last time we were there, there's a restaurant that I love to go to. It's a restaurant and bar. It's called the Billy Goat Tavern. If anybody has ever seen the cheeseburger skit from Saturday Night Live, that's based on the Billy Goat.
Yes.
And they have really good cheeseburgers. They have a horny goat if you're one to consume adult beverage. That's really good. It's kind of their signature drink. And I love to go to this place. It's a newspaper bar. Virginia Marmaduke, of all people, who was a journalist in Chicago for a number of years. She was known as the Duchess up there. And she was from Southern Illinois and lived in Pinckneyville when I was a teenager and was one of the people that inspired me to get into journalism. She's the one that pointed out, if you go to Chicago, you have to go look at my picture at the Billy Goat. And I've been going back ever since. So I say that to say this.
The last time we tried to go to Chicago, Billy Goat was closed for a private party. And so this time, as we're driving
Nick's gun shy.
This time, as we're driving up, I told Jeff, call the Billy Goat to make sure they're open. So
and I did.
He did. It was about 6 p.m.
And what did they say to me?
Said they're open till 2, because they were just as rude on the phone as they are in person.
Yes, it's kind of their shtick, but anyway. I said, so you're open? Yeah, we're open till 2. I said, so you're open tonight? And she said, yeah, we're open till 2, and hung up on me.
So we get there, and it's about 10 after 7.
Anyone that has ever had to park in Chicago, since they have installed this new draconian parking system up there, it's just a nightmare, and I feel sorry for anyone that has to deal with it on a daily basis in Chicago. It's god-awful.
We found street parking and paid $9.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours. And so we walked down to the Billy Goat, and there's a giant sign plastered on the door that they're closed for a private party from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
And we got there at what, 10 after 7?
10 after 7.
Yeah.
And so Jeff kind of goes in and asks, like, hey, I tried calling, blah, 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 or I called and everything. And, yeah, it didn't matter. It didn't matter one bit.
Not one bit.
Not one bit.
I even called them and complained.
Yeah.
They told me to come back and get a free drink. And I said,
at 9 o'clock. And
not sure I'm coming back.
So now at this point, as we're walking to the car, this is where
it goes off the rails.
This is where suddenly things, I say that you have some culpability in this. Because at this point, during the drive up to Chicago, I was searching for cigar lounges in Chicago.
Because we wanted to have a stick. We only had one in the FJ the entire time we were driving up. And Angela was in the back seat, and she's
got asthma, and so we were trying to be polite. So we
only put her through one, hour of torment.
So in the process of
she basically had that inhaler in her mouth like a snorkel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the process of searching for cigar lounges, I found a place in Chicago that advertises that they have cigars and barbecue.
Yeah, sounded intriguing.
And so, obviously I assumed that it was like different buildings or something like that. And I figured, hey, this is great. We can kind of kill 2 birds with one stone. Get some food and get some cigars.
Exactly.
And so Jeff, and the reason this comes up is because after we leave the Billy Goat, instead of asking, okay, guys, where do you want to go eat? Jeff asks, where can we go get a cigar?
In my defense, I said, let's look for something around here because we'd already paid for the parking. And you guys at that point just were disgusted and wanted to get out of the city. I get it.
Yeah, we were tired of the city.
But I did ask.
Yeah.
So we decided, hey, you know what? Let's go get some food. We can have a stick at this place. So we drive essentially over to Iowa.
About 45 minutes to the west.
Yeah.
To one of the suburbs. I don't even know where.
We
I'll
might
be
as
honest,
well have been in Davenport.
I would have to Google this place again to figure out the name of it. I'm not really that interested, and they didn't do anything wrong, so I don't want to throw them under the bus.
No, they did nothing wrong except for be busy, which good for them.
I was going to say, they were busy. We got there. There was no seats available. And also, their menu was extraordinarily limited. All they had were wings, they had rib tips, and they had these jalapeno hot
links or
hot
whatever.
links.
I wanted to try that, by the way.
And that was it. That was all they had. I mean, not a burger, nothing. I mean, so at this point, Ange and I are looking at the menu and we're like, yeah, we don't want to do this. And, and even the cigars, I'll be honest, they had a couple of, wall humidors, but I don't even know where we would have gone to go smoke because
there was no smoking in the restaurant.
Yeah,
and
I didn't see another building, and I'm assuming it was probably an outdoor thing with heaters, and it was really cold. So anyway, at this point, we're now standing outside of this restaurant trying to figure out what to do.
Trying not to get hit in traffic running across the 4 lanes.
That's when we decide that we're going to try and find food up by the hotel. This is where
the bitterness comes in with Nicholas Miller.
And this is where I will freely admit that I screwed up in the planning.
Just took his shiv out and shanked us repeatedly.
Because
tiny little jabs.
Because you've never made a mistake, Jeff. You've never made a mistake. Never made a mistake.
I've made mistakes. I don't know if I made one of these.
Yeah, you have. You've made mistakes.
Nick booked us in a hotel in what essentially was on the Canadian border.
It was not. So anyway,
it was about 5 miles. Oh my
God! Let me just tell the thing.
5 miles north of Green Bay.
It was not. So anyway, look, we were going up there for a Freedom of Information Act conference put on by the Chicago Headline Club. And it was at Loyola University, but it was at the law school.
The School of Law.
Which is located in downtown Chicago. My problem was I Googled hotels near Loyola University. Well, Loyola University is on the north side of the city and up in Evanston. And the problem with that was the only good way of getting there was for us to then turn around and go back to downtown and take Lakeshore Drive north all the way. So
it was deja vu.
It was a solid 45-minute drive, to the hotel. So we're now rolling into Evanston probably about 10 p.m.
After you've been driving in circles for 3 hours.
3 hours. We've traveled around Chicago for 3 hours driving in circles trying to find something to eat. And so we end up at a pizza place.
We did find the bean, though. Twice.
Yes, Jeff found the damn bean. Anyway.
We do know how to find the bean.
Good Lord. Anyway, we... oh, Lord. Anyway.
If you haven't been to Chicago, look for the bean.
We got to this pizza place, and it was pretty dead, but it was 10 o'clock, so I would expect it to be dead.
We didn't take it as a bad sign.
No. And so we sit down and we order our pizzas, and, there was a miscommunication with the waitress. I was inquiring as to the size of the small pizza, how big is the pizza? And she's like, it's about 4 pieces, and then she made this little motion with her hand, kind of indicating size. I thought that she was indicating that's the size of the pizza.
And in this, you were not wrong because I took it the exact same way.
But she was indicating that's the size of the piece.
The slice.
The slice.
And there were 4 of those in the small pizza.
Which would have been perfect.
Yep.
But because I thought that was the size of the pizza, I went ahead and said, I'm going to need more than that. So I ordered a medium, which was way too much. And
I followed suit and did the same thing.
So Jeff orders himself this pizza with a couple different toppings, including anchovies.
Yep.
So they bring these pizzas out to us 35 minutes later. Mine is warm, but not hot.
Ish at best.
And I got sausage and green peppers. Well, anything with vegetable left like water.
Yeah, it was swimming in a pool of its own juices.
So now at this point, my pizza is a little soggy, and I'm a little upset about that.
Angela's was too, and so was mine.
And yeah. But then the real kicker for Jeff is they forgot the anchovies. So what they did is they brought a plate of anchovies
on a bed of lettuce
out to him and said, "Here you go." And they were the most rancid, foul, smelly things I've ever encountered.
These things had been sitting in a drawer for a few weeks. they were bait. They might as well have been fish bait.
And
I've never smelled anything this bad in my life.
It was
and
horrible.
I actually tried to eat them because I kind of felt bad that they brought them out. And I had to end up scraping them off most of the pizza. I couldn't take it.
It was gross.
Oh, they stunk so bad.
So anyway, we ate our food, and it was not the best. I will admit. It was not the best.
They didn't have pizza sauce. They had chunks of tomato.
Yeah, it didn't have like an actual tomato sauce.
Yeah, not what I was expecting.
So that also didn't help. But the crust was really good, though.
Yeah, the crust was good. They have a buttery crust.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the name of the pizza place because I don't want to trash them.
I know.
God, it
well,
sucked.
and some people like it. We got into that actually at the cigar lounge the next day. Some people were really surprised that we were disappointed with them. So
I wanted a good saucy pizza.
I know. So anyway, we made our way to the hotel, and that's when it struck for Jeff.
Yeah, I had to veer off. And you know what? I did this on purpose. I wanted to be nice to Nick. I destroyed the lobby bathroom.
Yes, he did.
I didn't want to bring it to the room with me.
He was gone for a solid 45 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes I fall asleep.
I was texting you, asking if you were okay.
It woke me up when it buzzed.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so he gets up to the room. I think we probably shut off the TV and, called it a night at about midnight.
11:30 to midnight, somewhere in that range.
Midnight,
Now, you would think at this point that that's the end of the story. But, oh, dear God, no, it's not. Because at 1:14, and I know it's 1:14 because I checked my phone, Nick, out of a dead sleep, screams at the top of his effing lungs. And I'm laying facing away from him, in the bed next to him. We had a double queens in the room. So I roll over, and I'm fully expecting a serial killer has broken into our hotel room and is stabbing Nick to death. And I thought I'm going to have to jump into action and save myself, at the bare minimum. And Nick's just laying in bed. So I say, Nick? And at that point, he starts screaming more. Repeatedly screaming. And I'm like, Nick! Because I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm lost. I'm completely lost. So tell him what's going on, Nick.
So every once in a while, this has now happened 6 times. This is now the 6th time.
I'm so glad I witnessed one of these.
6th time.
Jesus.
This is the 6th time in my life this has happened. Every once in a while, I get night terrors.
Oh,
and
my God.
I can always usually remember, the dream or whatever it is that triggers them. The very first time that I had this happen, was back in college, and I was over at my buddy's place, and it was about 3 a.m. I'm on the futon, and I roll onto my back, and I open up my eyes, and I could see 5 men in cloaks staring down at me.
I contend this was Nick's first alien abduction.
So anyway, and at that point I lost my ever-loving mind, thrashing around, screaming, and everything like that. And I woke myself up, realized that I'm by myself, and went back to sleep. Another time I did it was at my in-laws, and I dreamt that I had driven my car into a lake and that my car was filling with water and I was going to drown. And, my wife came in and woke me up, and I kind of came to. Since then, I've had a couple others where there's a guy standing in the corner of my bedroom. I feel like I've woken up.
What was he wearing?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
I feel like I've woken up. In my mind, I've woken up. I open my eyes. I see the room in the darkness, and I just happen to see a man standing in the corner dressed in a suit. Or one time it was in an overcoat and a top hat. Another time it was just a suit and a hat. And
that's Hat Man, by the way, buddy.
Standing there in the corner just staring at me.
You need to look that up on paranormal stuff. That's something that's discussed.
So anyway, then there was the other time with the giant spiders that were crawling up the bed and coming at me, and I'm thrashing about saying that they're spiders, and my wife had to wake me up at that point too. Anyway, this time, what's different about this time in Chicago with Jeff, I truly, honestly have absolutely 100% no idea what the trigger was.
Yeah.
Like, I was not dreaming. The only thing I remember is I remember kind of like coming to and screaming, and then I heard you, and then once I heard you, my brain didn't process that I was in the room with you. All I heard was another male voice.
Yep.
And that scared the
Freaked
hell
you
out of
out
me.
more.
And so that's when I started screaming more. And it was only at that point, that's when once I started waking up from my screaming and your screaming, that at that point, that's when I finally came to and stopped screaming. So
now, what he doesn't point out to you is within 5 minutes, he's back asleep snoring.
Well, yeah,
I'm shaking from the adrenaline rush, and I'm wide-eyed at this point. It took me 45 minutes to get back to sleep because all I kept thinking was, when's he going to do it again?
Well, and that's the thing. The last time this happened was, oh, God, years ago. I mean, it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago since I've had one of these.
I've never,
for whatever reason, it just kicked in the other night.
Guys, I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life. I don't have words to explain what, like, me telling you this story on the podcast does not convey how just mortifying this was. I'm going to have PTSD.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know. So we all have to drag ourselves out of bed super early because, again, we're in Canada and we have to drive all the way back to Chicago to go to our conference.
You're such a dick. Anyway.
It sure felt like it. So that being said, we get up, we go downstairs, and we enjoy, a fairly nice continental breakfast. The hotel was nice.
That was not a continental breakfast. That was a straight-up breakfast, man. Yeah. They had eggs and bacon and
wakey eggs and bacon.
All kinds of different things. So, I mean, that was actually a really nice breakfast, I thought.
Yeah. So we get up and we take off driving. Now, I wish Ange was with us to talk about what went on because neither one of them would drive in the city. So it was up to me.
It was just ignorant.
What? I got you there.
First of all, Jeff believes that lane lines are suggestions because he's like taking turns and going like veering into like the other lane and everything like that. I would tell him, I would direct him, hey, make a left at the upcoming light. And he would just sail right on through, and then we'd have to recalculate and everything like that. I mean, there was no paying attention to the navigation whatsoever.
I have often said that I take my half out of the middle.
God.
I paid for half of the road. I'm going to use the half I want.
Yeah, I can tell. So, anyway.
So
we get there, and
the conference sucked.
Yeah,
and I've gone to this for many years, and
it was just horrible, and it was filled with misinformation,
social justice
warrior crap, and quite frankly, a lot of the breakout sessions were not as advertised. They're talking about, hey, we're going to talk about XYZ, and instead we're going to do a half an hour infomercial for how great Evernote is. And so the long and short of it is, it didn't take the three of us long to say, this sucks, let's bail.
Yeah.
And so we did.
We did.
And we found a nice cigar bar.
We did, Up-Down.
The Up-Down Cigar Bar. And we went there. We met a nice guy from New York named Alex.
Yeah, Alex was really cool. We had a really nice time talking to him. He had recently moved from Florida to New York and worked out at the tip of Long Island at some resort.
Yeah, and he was just in Chicago just on a whim. I guess a friend of his had invited him in to come to town and just hang out, and so he
had
did.
A few hours, and he walked 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles to come to the cigar lounge.
It was impressive. He was in a lot better shape than we are.
Significantly better shape than we are.
But it was getting to sit and talk to him kind of made the day calm down a little bit and round out. It was nice. So that was a good thing.
So we want to give a thanks to the Up Down Cigar in the heart of Old Town for giving us a little entertainment.
It was a neat little neighborhood
in the early part of the day, and then we had lunch.
Potbelly.
Yeah, we went to Potbelly, and then from there, that's when we headed out to Villa Park.
Yep.
And that's when Ange decided she had
enough of us, yes,
our fuckery, and that's when she had us drop her off at a used bookstore.
I think she referred to it at one point as the fucking.
Yeah.
It was all the stars aligned for complete stupid.
Yeah, total stupid. That's the last stop we made before we made our way over to Ultimate Cigar Lounge and Hookah Bar, and we will get to that portion of our trip here shortly.
So now it's time for Ask the Boys. But before we do that, what are you getting on your stick?
I'm still getting the spice and the earthy notes.
Yeah. I'm getting a spice. I can't put my finger on it. It's maybe a clove kind of a taste.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's not pepper. I mean, there is some pepper component to the cigar.
There was when I started out, but it's more of
it's a little different now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe an allspice, clove, something. Yeah, something along that line.
Something like that.
Let's get into Ask the Boys.
I would say we'll go ahead and do our regular Tuesday segment, Ask the Boys.
So what questions do we have today, Nicholas?
So we've got a couple of questions. And the first one, I want to circle back to a question from last week from Curmudge Jim.
Okay.
Curmudge Jim asked you, but, I guess it's kind of on all of us.
By that you mean you and I?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is the chemical in coffee that sometimes makes it smell like a cigar?
Now, did you research this? Because I've thought about this a little more.
I did a little bit of research, and I could not find any reference to an actual chemical.
I don't believe there is. I think it's just darker. I think it's just longer roasted.
And that's what I found. Yep. So I found that coffee roasting and tobacco leaf aging result in a higher sugar content and release of natural volatile oils. Okay.
So it's basically releasing a different set of oils to roast it longer.
And basically both tobacco and coffee have high amounts of aromatic, nitrogenous compounds. And while they have different smells and aromas and whatnot, the breakdown can cause similar flavors.
Fair enough.
And
that was actually, like I said, I've taken some time because I know folks that roast coffee. I know a good friend of mine, Lisa, that owns a coffee shop in Waterloo, Illinois. It's the Bean Tree Coffee and cafe there. And I've seen her roast, and I know they're not adding anything to it. So the more I thought about that, since we recorded the last episode, for Ask the Boys, it kind of clicked with me. It's like, well, there's nothing added to it.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I can think of is that it's got to be the roasting process.
Yeah.
So that kind of is our
kind of circled back, cleared that up.
Best guess there. Yes. Exactly. Now we're going to get to another question that I had to do a little bit of looking into and research for.
Okay.
This is from Instagram follower Valentin Menendez Jonathan. And he writes saying that he has a question that we might be able to answer. His question is, what is the difference between mold and plume on a cigar?
Ah, that's a great question.
Now, that's easy. Mold is a problem.
It's bad and you don't want it.
Plume is apparently a good thing.
Yeah.
So mold grows on cigars, and quite frankly, anything that is too moist, okay?
And the temperature's too high.
Precisely. Yeah. So if you have too high of humidity going in your humidor and you have some high temperature, it'll produce a greenish, grayish kind of mold that cannot be scraped off.
It's bad.
If you try and scrape it off like with your nail, it can't be scraped off.
And all you're doing is spreading spores at that point.
Exactly.
Yep.
Plume, okay, also called bloom, is crystalline and it's grayish white and it looks like specks on a cigar.
Yep.
If you rub them or scrape them with your nail, they disappear. Okay? Plume is a natural byproduct of an aged cigar. What it is it's a sign that your cigars are aging well, and basically it's solidified oil from the wrapper leaf. Okay? Whereas mold is just a sign that your cigars are too humid.
You put in the man hours on this one. I like it.
So, what I found, rule of thumb, if the spots are a light, dusty powder, it's plume. If it's spotty or furry, it's definitely mold.
Yeah. And you do not want to smoke it.
Now, plume, when you encounter that, that means that your cigar is aging like super, super good.
Yeah.
And it's actually ideal at that point to smoke.
Yep.
But not all cigars actually will produce plume either. So you might have a really, really aged cigar, and it just may never plume.
But it's all in how that tobacco, especially the leaf, I would assume, was aged.
Precise. Well, yeah. and honestly, possibly even the type of leaf. I mean, maybe it wasn't a very oily leaf to start with, you know?
Valid point.
Anyway, so yeah, that would be the answer there. So I guess when in doubt, you can maybe take it to your local tobacconist and see if they can, identify it. Personally,
but guys, if you know it's mold, don't introduce the spores to your shop.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Personally, just that whole concept is weird to me. Yeah. I know that there's probably going to be a lot of cigar purists that are like, "Oh my God, plume is great." And why are you saying this? I don't want anything growing on my cigar. So, yeah,
especially you don't want the beetles hatching.
Well, that's a whole different problem.
Yeah.
But in terms of if I have a question of whether or not something is mold or not, I'm going to err on the side of caution and just assume it is.
See, now I come at it from a different perspective because I do a lot of home fermenting. I've made some wine. I've done a lot of like kimchi, sauerkraut. I do kombucha, and I've learned a lot about what is mold, what's yeast. Yeast isn't necessarily bad on a ferment. The problem you get is if you don't control it or get the yeast off, that's where mold can then grow on that yeast floating on top of your ferment.
Yeah.
So you want to get rid of that. But in addition, like with kombucha, you've got what's called a SCOBY. That is a byproduct of the fermentation process for the kombucha. And that SCOBY is what they call, it's a colony of bacteria and yeast. And basically, that's a good thing to have growing in your kombucha. But if you end up with anything green or black or blue growing on it, again, like you said, hairy, fuzzy, that's bad, and you got to dump it because that thing has put legs into your entire ferment. So, but, yeast, on the other hand, will make these real pretty, almost like snowflake-looking patterns on top of it. And that isn't necessarily bad, but you want to get that off because mold will grow on that yeast.
Yeah.
So you want to get rid of that.
By and large, mold is just a bad thing.
Yeah, mold is a bad thing.
So
unless it's on oranges or bread, which is technically, kind of a penicillin type thing.
But I'd much rather get that from a pharmacist and not just take a piece of fruit from my bowl and say, I'm just going to lick it.
And that's where Nick and I differ because I've been known to medicate. I grew up on a farm, and we always had antibiotics laying around, for the animals. I've used those myself to treat things because I don't like going to the doctor. Okay. And I know I'm not a medical professional, and I don't encourage anyone to do it. I've done it. I'm still here.
Well, there you go. So now we did receive pretty much the same question from both Barbells and Beers and Craddock Dennis.
Okay.
They both
two really good listeners we have.
Barbells and Beers asked if we discuss music while smoking, and Craddock Dennis wants to know what kind of music we like. So basically wanting to know our music tastes.
Yeah. And you know what? That I think can be covered, in part with our trip because we found an 80s station coming out of Springfield, and we just sang our asses off at 1, 2 in the morning coming home.
Mm-hmm.
And had a blast.
I'll tell you, by and large, in terms of my music, I'm not much of a music guy. Like, I like music. I know what it's kind of like art. I know what I like. And if I like it, I like it,
I'm all over the place. I
was going to say, I don't really have a specific genre or thing or whatever that I like. I'm not much of a concert guy. I don't really tend to go to a lot of concerts.
Although I've gone to a concert with you, and it was wonderful.
True.
They Might Be Giants.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a blast at that.
Like They Might Be Giants. And,
it's funny. Like, I grew up listening to Christian rock.
Yeah.
And, I also listened to a lot of punk stuff. As a kid, I like some heavy metal. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. My experience in country music is not very broad. Some of it I know.
I grew up listening to old country with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And, the old...
I'm not a fan of the old twangy country.
See,
I know.
At the time, I didn't appreciate it, but now when it comes on, I know all the songs.
Yeah.
The Tammy Wynette and, the old Dolly Parton stuff. My dad's a huge Dolly Parton fan. Loves Dolly Parton to this day.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So I grew up listening to Kenny Rogers and, it's just one of those things.
I will say, in terms of more contemporary, newish kind of music, I do, and this is where I'm going to sound like the old fart, turn your music down.
These kids today.
I really don't find much newer stuff that I'm really getting into.
Well, and see, I'm different there because I own a top 40 radio station.
I know,
and I've learned to appreciate some of that music. And I still like the classics.
I know. I just like the old. Give me some old rock and roll. Give me some
little Bob Seger.
Just something 70s, 80s. I'm fine with that. Maybe a little 90s, but I'll be honest, even 90s music started to kind of suck. And that was my area of growing up. But
I went to AC/DC a couple of years ago here in St. Louis, right before the lead singer dropped out, because he was having issues with his hearing, and went to see AC/DC and loved it. Went with you to They Might Be Giants, you and Laura, and had a blast.
I've seen Foo Fighters, I think, 3 times in concert.
Thank God they're out there fighting Foo for us.
It's true.
What's
true?
What does the name Foo Fighters mean?
You've asked me this before. I don't know. I don't remember.
In World War II, they were the unidentified flying objects that the bomber pilots and fighter pilots would see fighting in Europe.
Oh, okay then.
They when they couldn't explain what they were, they called them Foo Fighters, and that's where the name comes from.
All right. And then, it's one of those things. I've gone to see Foo Fighters 3 times, and I drove up to Chicago, a little over a year ago to go see Phil Collins in concert.
And that's a story we're going to circle back to on another subsequent podcast.
Because the stupid followed me on that trip too, and I was by myself. But anyway, so we're kind of all over the place in terms of music. I'll be honest, I'm perfectly fine with throwing on if you notice the intro music and outro music for the show, I'm perfectly fine with just throwing on some easy jazz or something like that, just to have a little bit of just music. It doesn't necessarily have to have lyrics or anything like that.
When I cook, I go
throw on some music.
I go all Hannibal Lecter and play classics. I'll play Bach or Beethoven or Tchaikovsky, and just drives Kristen insane.
Oh Lord, everything you do drives Kristen insane.
Well, it is me.
So, circling back to Barbells and Beers and Craddock Dennis, then I'll finish up the rest of their questions. Barbells and Beers asked if we had any Mardi Gras plans, because this past weekend was Mardi Gras. Well,
technically it's Tuesday. It's the day the cast comes out.
Well, that's Fat Tuesday.
Yep.
But, Saturday was
the big parade here in
St. Louis.
And we were in Chicago.
We were in Chicago, and it was 55 degrees here in St. Louis, and apparently extraordinarily busy down in the Soulard area.
Oh, I bet. I've been down there before.
I'll tell you, folks, if you're interested in Mardi Gras, but for maybe you're a little intimidated by the idea of New Orleans, come to St. Louis for their Saturday Mardi Gras, because they do a hell of a... It's probably the second largest Mardi Gras in the country.
In the country, and I think it's only third behind maybe Rio.
Yeah. So, we do Mardi Gras big in St. Louis.
Yeah, we do.
And it's just a
great parade.
All-day party.
All-day drunk fest over there.
It's Mardi Gras.
If you like to people watch, it's the place to be.
Exactly. So no, in terms of this year Mardi Gras, we didn't really have any... He wants to know if we have any past stories of Mardi Gras. I tend to not go down there too much, mostly because it is just such a large group of highly intoxicated people.
I've gone several times over the years, and I enjoy Mardi Gras, but I love New Orleans. So when Mardi Gras is going on in St. Louis, it has that vibe, that feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get very claustrophobic with that many people around and everything. I'm good with groups of people. I'm not great with large groups of people.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating, and I don't dig it, and especially with all that booze and everything else.
I'm going to be honest;
it adds an element of just wackiness.
There are beads and boobs, and I'm happy.
Well, no, I'll give you that. Yeah. So
I admit it freely.
Anyway, Craddock Dennis wants to know if we're ready for our Irish car bomb challenge.
Oh God!
And the answer to that is no.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
That's a hard no. I am not ready for that. I'm not a stout beer drinker. I don't drink Guinness, and so this whole thing is just one of those things that, quite frankly, just does intimidate me. I'm going to do it, but it does intimidate me. And he wants to know if we've ever seen the movie The Darkest Hour.
The Darkest Hour.
The Darkest Hour is,
Churchill.
That was the Churchill movie with Gary Oldman.
Yep.
And
do they reference the cross-dressing in it?
Oh, Lord.
I've never seen it.
They do not.
Are you sure? Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it. It's a fantastic movie, and he's smoking stogies the entire friggin' movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. But no, it's a really good movie. It talks all about, Churchill and his kind of rise to...
So they downplay the cross-dressing.
Yeah, it's not mentioned. Not mentioned. But it's a really good movie. It talks about how, how he had to deal with the rise of Nazi Germany and had to kind of rally everybody into being willing to fight and everything.
Churchill held the line, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he saved England.
It's a great movie. So, no, I enjoyed The Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Now, what else have we got here? BB Huma Smart wants to know how we first got interested in cigars. We've kind of touched on that before, but, just to recap here, you and I were out in Las Vegas in July of 2018, and we were walking through Caesar's Palace past the Monte Cristo Lounge. You wanted to go inside and get some smokes, and so I went in with you. And I think it was the combination of being in Las Vegas, being in this gorgeous humidor, seeing all these really nice cigars on display everywhere, and I'll also admit the really good-looking blonde Russian lady that was working in the humidor that didn't hurt.
Didn't hurt one bit.
And so I went ahead and bought a couple sticks, just, when in Rome kind of thing, and we didn't smoke anything there. We actually brought them back to Illinois and sat outside and lit them up, and
He's been hooked.
It's been ever since. It was one of those things where it was a nice release that allowed me to sit and just kind of chill for an hour and decompress, and it was just one of those things that I just had to do. So.
I, on the other hand, have a little backstory to this that I've never relayed on the podcast that I think would be appropriate since the question's been asked.
Oh, my.
Yep. And you haven't even heard this.
Oh, my.
So I've been smoking cigars and a pipe since I was basically 16 years old. And, a lot of those cigars I smoked when I was younger were just Swisher Sweets and whatnot. But what got me started is I had a group of friends, Brent Shorn, Chris Rickenberg, guys from high school that I was friends with, Joel Boswell, who was later a U2 pilot. So, I was hanging around some good company here.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would go camping a lot. And we would always set up a campfire. And my friend Brent even built this little, horrible cabin in the middle of the woods. And, we were all so proud of it. And it was, our spot to go to.
Uh-huh.
But one of the things that we would do when we sat around the campfire is we would make party joints. Now, when you hear that, you think we're smoking marijuana.
I assumed not.
No, we're Hoosiers. We're rednecks. We're just idiots, And basically what we would do is we would take part of a paper bag or whatever it was, and we would roll up corn silks. We'd roll up, say, straw, hay, and we would act like we were smoking. That's literally what got me started smoking.
Did you ever light that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
That probably tasted horrible.
Yeah, they were probably a 60, 80 ring gauge.
That probably tasted absolutely horrible.
It did, but it's what got me started.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, that tastes horrible. I'll try a cigar, and, I liked it.
No wonder you'll smoke a Swisher. It tastes better in comparison to corn silk and twigs.
Absolutely. I'm not proud.
That cardboard, it just...
By no means am I proud.
Oh, my God. Anyway... And then we do have a couple more questions here from Travis Seibert. He wants to know, besides cigars and newspapers, what else are you all passionate about?
I'm
a giant comic book nerd. I've said that before.
Yeah, he is.
I'm a giant comic book nerd, and I love movies.
Again, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm big into fermenting. I have ulcerative colitis. I've had it since I was 12 years old. And it's one of those things where, in all honesty, I haven't taken any medicine in 10 years. Now, I'm not recommending that to anyone else, but I have, in my mind, controlled what was a really rough disease that I've dealt with most of my life through drinking kombucha, kefir, kefir, however you want to pronounce it, fermented milk, yogurts, anything with acidophilus, or any myriad of other good probiotic, bacteria kind of things that you can put into your body. And through getting into fermented foods, I've essentially controlled, or at least in my mind, I've controlled it because I haven't had any issues. I haven't taken any medicine. I haven't been to the doctor to speak of for probably 10 plus years.
Well, there you go.
And it was something that has dogged me my entire life, and I'm not dealing with it anymore.
So your hobby is fermenting things.
My hobby is fermenting. I also, I like to organic garden.
You do your gardening.
I do a lot of organic gardening. I am worried about pesticides, GMOs, Roundup, herbicides, I'm scared that we're poisoning our planet, and we're definitely poisoning our food supply.
All right.
And I know a lot of people take umbrage with that and think that I'm insane, and they stare at me like I've grown 2 heads. But it's one of those things that I genuinely believe in. I've seen the effects that a lot of these chemicals have over time on the soils. We're killing our soil, food. There's basically a food web under the ground, and it's all these different little, like microorganisms that live in the soil. And they basically communicate with the roots, and they help bring in nutrients and things for the roots. And in a lot of our farm fields, we've just killed that by pouring chemical fertilizers and, other chemicals onto our soils. So, yeah.
Well, this has been the Gardening Minute with Jeff.
There you go. And, my big passion as far as journalism is, government transparency. Which, again, is why we went to the conference we went to. It didn't quite pan out like it has for me in years past, but I've actually been a speaker at that conference on a couple of different occasions. And it's just one of those things that, I believe the government's using our tax dollars, and they need to be open and transparent about how they do that. And, I hate to say this, most of the government officials and bureaucrats that I've ran into, elected officials and whatnot, don't agree with me on that and think they should do whatever they want.
It's unfortunate.
It really is. Am I lying?
No, It's not.
So those are my passions.
So he wants to also know if we weren't running newspapers, what would we be doing for work?
I took a break from journalism for a while and sold cars. I actually managed a family video. Nick also worked at a family video.
For a hot minute.
Not at the same time. And, so I've done some other things like that. And I'd be in some kind of sales. I mean, that's kind of in my blood. I'm always selling something.
Yeah. I'd probably be in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did do political.
But you kind of are.
I did political work before I started the newspaper and everything, and so, it's not. I'd probably end up being some political, gun for hire that would.
You'd be the guy fighting against my FOIA.
I'd be coming in and helping campaigns and that kind of thing. Or
that's
like
more
that.
your thing.
I know that
you're good at campaigns.
I know.
You and our friend John are really good at campaigning.
But it's so obnoxious.
I know, but man, you're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm not, but Nick is.
What would I like to do? That's a whole different thing.
I think if Nick and I had our druthers, we would own a little tiki bar in the Florida Keys.
Little tiki bar.
Live on the beach.
Little cigar lounge, just kind of hang out. But yeah. Unfortunately, that takes money and
skills.
You don't have that when you're running a newspaper.
No money at all.
Yeah.
Support your local journalism, folks, please.
So, and then finally, his last question, and the last question for the Ask the Boys segment is, he says that he's kind of gathered that I'm not much of a whiskey guy, and he wants to know what my drink of choice is, and he wants to know if you are a whiskey guy and what your drink of choice is. In terms of me and my drink of choice, boy, I really burnt myself out hard in college. Like, really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot overemphasize just how much stupid partying I did in college. And, my drinks of choice back then were screwdrivers and Long Island iced teas.
Okay, then.
And copious amounts of beer. Since then, after kind of like throttling back really, really hard, I'll have a beer every once in a while. Typically something kind of light. A screwdriver every once in a while is not bad. At this point, I've kind of come to the decision that if I'm going to drink something, I don't want it to be something that I'm having to choke down or not enjoy just because it's manly.
Yeah.
I want something that tastes good. The problem is most of the drinks that taste good are typically considered to be girly drinks.
You like something with an umbrella in it. Maybe some fruit on the side.
Give me something with like a lot of fruit juice, something that tastes good. that maybe has a little buzz to it or something like that, that's fine. But, yeah, for the most part, that's what I do. So that's why if you're hearing me in the Friday whiskey segments, lately I've been doing whiskey with pineapple juice.
Yeah.
Just because, quite frankly, I hit it with a whole lot of pineapple juice. I get a little bit of that whiskey bite, but for the most part, it's just pineapple juice.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, I mentioned kombucha earlier. I'm a big fan of kombucha. In addition, coffee and tea. I'm not a big alcohol drinker.
I was saying,
I know, but I'm not.
If we're talking regular drinks,
Yeah.
I'm an iced tea guy all the way.
Unsweet. We're Yankees.
Unsweet iced tea all the way.
Boy, there's nothing worse.
I drink gallons of it a day.
Nothing worse than ordering a tea and having the waitress bring you sweet tea when you're not expecting it.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it's just a shock to the system.
Dude, no. I'll give you one worse.
Okay.
Is when you go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and you order an unsweet tea, and they give you a sweet tea after, and you don't realize it till after you've pulled away, and you take that first sip, and that sweetness just hits. Because do you realize that there is more sugar in a large McDonald's sweet tea than 2 Snicker bars?
Yeah.
It's insane how much sugar's in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hate that so much.
Nothing makes me rage harder than that.
And I wish to God, instead of calling it sweet and unsweet, they would call it sweet and plain.
Or regular.
Just so that it was a different word, because those stupid drive-through boxes never process the
Well, it's not
unsweet.
the box. It's the people that we're going to be paying $15 an hour to that can't
I think
tell
it's
the
a little
difference.
of column A and a little column of B.
Yeah, you're kinder than I am.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's when I go up, I always say sweet iced tea.
I say
hard.
What I do
emphasis
is
on the
I say I want an iced tea. Most of the time they'll ask sweet or unsweet. And what I then say is unsweet, plain.
Yeah.
I hit it with the plain.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm going to
The only way to drive it home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm a huge coffee guy. Like Nick said, he'll drink gallons of tea a day. I'll drink a lot of tea, but I'll drink a whole pot of coffee, and I'll turn it off, let it go cold, and I'll just drink it all day long. I'll ice it down.
I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh, no, I've never seen you drink coffee.
Not a coffee drinker. I like the smell of coffee, but I do not like the taste of coffee. So,
well, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But anyway, so that would be this week's segment of Ask the Boys. If you have questions for us and want to ask them, obviously you can ask about anything you want, and we'll answer them whether we know the answer or not.
Like an easy girl at a frat party, we're taking all comers.
So hit us up with your questions. You can
Never gets old.
You can either email your questions to us by going to the Contact the Pulpit page on cigarpulpit.com, or you can hit us up with a DM through Instagram at either one of our pages, either The Cigar Pulpit or Naked Gator, Nekkid Gator.
There you go. Well, that was a great Ask the Boys.
I like Ask the Boys.
It's a good time.
It is. So
it lets us branch out.
It gives us something to talk about that the listeners obviously want to know.
So before we get into our glorious event that we had, and by the way, thank you to the Ashholes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Carlos put on a wonderful event.
Yeah, he really did, and we hijacked it. How is your AJ Fernandez stick here?
I'm enjoying it. I've got good construction. The burn line's good. It's staying lit, despite how much I'm talking, and I'm still getting that spicy kind of earthy flavor.
How do you pronounce this?
The Dias de Gloria?
Dias de Gloria.
I think.
Yeah. We can just sing Gloria. I could do that.
Mm-mm.
Gloria.
No singing.
No, why?
Because then we might have to pay royalties for the song. Anyway.
I just wanted to do a tribute to the Blues right there.
No.
By the way, we won the Stanley Cup, so everybody else can suck it.
Suck it. Anyway. So we got to the Ultimate Cigar Lounge and Hookah Bar.
Okay, so I'm going to say this.
I know exactly where you're about to go.
Okay, when you pull up, it is unassuming.
Yes, that is a good way of putting it.
Yep, it's unassuming. You wouldn't expect when you pull up to the building what you're going to encounter when you go inside.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, first of all, you don't realize it's anywhere near as deep as it is.
No, it's huge.
This building is huge. Like, when you look at it from the outside, you're thinking it's like a very small bay in maybe a 2 or 3 location little strip mall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is not. It is deceivingly
you go
large.
inside, and it just goes on for miles.
It's like the call box on
Doctor Who. Yeah. Bigger
That's
on the
exactly what it was like.
Bigger on the inside.
So we go in, and just a glorious humidor. Just I can't say enough.
Fantastically large humidor.
I took a picture.
Lots of product.
Of the humidor. I did a pano shot of the humidor. And obviously we can't post that on Instagram, but we are going to, I think, put it up on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, because you'll be able to see it. Blow this up and look at this humidor, guys, because it is phenomenal.
Really well stocked. Lots of options.
Lots of stuff.
Good selection of both like the big name stuff, but then also some boutique stuff. I mean, it was really nice.
What was that stick I had? They had a new stick to the humidor, and I tried it.
It was by HVC.
Yeah, it's an HVC stick, and it is. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, but it was a really, really nice humidor. And then you go further in, and they have the lounge that we sat in.
Yep.
It was a nice big open room, lots of really plush big leather chairs.
Oh yeah,
I mean. And Earl,
many leather-bound books. It smelled of rich mahogany.
So Earl, who works there, he's in the Illinois Ash Holes, and he's the manager of this.
This guy could not be a better dude.
You know, retired police officer and everything like that. But he was telling us that they pride themselves on their furniture.
Oh yeah, and they should.
They should. So they've got some big screen TVs, kind of up on the walls. So it's great for viewing sports and everything. And then, there's a couple of sliding.
We watched a Rangers game on the TVs there.
Well, XFL was first, and then the Rangers game. Yeah, exactly. So a couple of big sliding wood doors. You go past those, and that opens you up into the rest of the building, which they have.
Is one huge room, but they've sectioned it off.
They've sectioned it off into smaller rooms. And so you have all these little nooks, these private little nooks, that you can have your little groups.
And that's where most of the hookah happens.
Most of the hookah happens back there. But, if you want to go back and smoke cigars back there, you can. And, it's dark, it's intimate, it's a nice place. And it was great. It was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And then they also had...
If you're in Chicagoland or going to be in Chicagoland, you got to look this place up. That's all there is to it.
And then next door to that, they also have a bar, okay? Now the bar
with a gaming room,
it's got it all. And everything else. Now it is a separate business. You can't smoke in the bar, or anything like that.
Yep.
But you can go over there, grab a drink, and bring it back over to the lounge.
It's a great setup.
I mean, they've got it down. And then the third bay in the strip is a liquor store that is not affiliated or anything like that. It's just next door. But it was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And so we got there and
met up with some of the ash holes.
There was there were probably 8 or 9 of us, I would say, wouldn't you?
There, and there were probably closer to a dozen or more over time because some people trickled in, some people trickled out. We had one gentleman come up from Springfield, just to come up and meet with us, and I thought that was so nice.
And that's the whole thing about this group is that we are a statewide group, and the Ash Holes of Illinois only founded, I guess, in maybe like August of last year.
You were a founding member.
Yeah. And so we're not very big, and we haven't done a meetup yet. And this is the first, and our coming up to Chicago was actually the first opportunity to do a meetup where some of the Southern guys could come up and take part. And so, we came up, and
this could not have been a better group of people. There were some women associated with it. There were a bunch of guys.
I mean, Mike came up from Springfield. Yep. We had Steve.
I hope we don't leave anybody out, but we appreciated everybody that showed up.
Here we had Steve, we had Carlos. We had Andy and his wife Shannon.
They were delightful.
We had. There were a number of people that showed up to this. So it was great, and we had a wonderful time.
We witnessed something that we've heard about before. So there was a gentleman there, and he couldn't have been nicer, but he's only been smoking cigars since like New Year's.
Steve.
Yeah. And Steve, came up to me and said, "Hey, I need some recommendations." And I said, "You got to talk to Nick. Nick's, I have cigars I like, but Nick knows his product."
But he followed you around.
But he did, and we kind of struck up a little friendship and talked a little bit. And I recommended the Leaf by Oscar.
Yeah.
Because it's one of my go-to sticks. And he tried it.
But he tried a Lancero.
Yep.
he was just talking up this Lancero to everybody. I mean, he's smoking this thing and he's talking about how great it is. And over the course of our time there, like 2 or 3 other people went into the humidor and all bought that Lancero because he was talking it up and hyping it up and talking about how great it was.
They probably sold 10 of those cigars that night.
Well, because he ended up buying another like 3 or 4 when he left.
Yep.
So yeah, just from one guy picking one thing up and talking about it in the lounge, the
spread like wildfire.
And everybody just, I mean, that word of mouth, that hype just spread throughout the group. And before long, yeah, you're right. They probably sold like 10 of those Lanceros that night.
Yeah. And one of the things that the manager pointed out to us, and I've never really had anybody explain it to me this way, but if you want to get the actual true taste that the blender has put together in a cigar, get a Lancero.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give you the most true representation of what they expected out of that cigar when they put it together.
Well, the proportions of filler, binder, wrapper.
Exactly.
And everything.
Yeah, and that had never really been explained to me before.
Yeah, I thought it
makes perfect sense.
It's kind of a ring gauge preference.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. We sat and talked and got stories from other people. We told a lot of our dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like I said, we hijacked the event, and I apologize if we told too many. But at one point, I even said, hey, are you guys tired of this, or you want to hear another story? And yeah, let's hear another story. And, we basically admitted to several felonies.
We are entertainers. I'll give us that. And so it just kind of happened that way. But, but it's one of the, Carlos works for Metra and drives the Orange Line train in
I was
Chicago.
Fascinated by his stories.
And he was talking about doing that. I mean, it was an interesting time.
It really was.
We had a good time talking with everybody. And
these were good, rock solid folks.
And it was one of those things. It was the quintessential cigar lounge experience. I'd known these guys, through Instagram, but I'd never met a single one of them in person.
But we knew every one of them.
As soon as we walked in, it was just like, boom, friends.
Yeah,
and
it was old home
hanging
week.
Out and talking and just getting to know everybody. And it was a fantastic time. It was wonderful. And I'll tell you, what was really great, the part that I loved was that moment when we're all in the humidor.
Yeah.
And we're all picking out our sticks.
Yeah.
And that place is just busy, and there's this buzz in the air, and we're just all going around, and we're all talking to one another about what cigars we like and everything else, and everybody's picking out stuff and asking, hey, what did you get, and everything else, and then we go in the other room and sit and light up, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm going to throw this in, and because I'm that guy and I'm just going to do it, we actually had planned to have this event at another lounge, and they told us, take a hike. They didn't want us there. And I'm thinking, are you guys insane?
Yeah.
Because, Ultimate could not have been better to us, and a lot of business was done that night.
Personally, I think it worked out for the best.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the initial location, I'm not going to say where it was, I would prefer not.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them any publicity, good or bad.
Yeah.
But
I want to trash them, but I won't.
But what I will say is this: it was a more upscale, downtown Chicago lounge.
It was very frou-frou.
And, they not only were charging for the sticks, but they would also have hit us all for $15 for a day pass for the lounge. And
then they wanted hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
They wanted a $600 event fee from us. This wasn't an event. This was just, 8 or 9
guys getting together to smoke.
This was 8 or 9 people getting together to smoke.
We happened to post it on Instagram because we wanted to bring business.
To coordinate everybody coming to one location at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's not like I was bringing in cigars to sell. We weren't bringing in food. I mean, this was not an event.
We didn't have some sort of fee. We just showed up and wanted to hang out and meet people.
It was just a coordinated meetup.
Yep.
But personally, I think it worked out for the best for other reasons,
and Ultimate, the manager, is one of the assholes.
I would say Earl is an asshole, and I thought it was great that we patronized one of the guys in the group. I thought that worked out even better, truth be told. So,
I don't think we'd have had near the fun time we had if we hadn't gone to Ultimate.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad it kind of all came together the way it did.
It worked out, for the best.
Yes.
Absolutely. We stayed there for a good 5 hours. We got there a little bit before 3. Yeah.
We were a little early. It was probably about 2:30-ish maybe.
Yeah.
And
I had to change in the parking lot.
Yeah, Jeff had to change his shirt in the parking lot because he was still wearing the same drug rug that he was wearing all day the day before.
And I thought, I'm meeting new people. I should probably actually wear, decent clothes.
Nice clothes.
Yeah.
And so we went inside, but
they kept trying to take pictures of me while I was changing in the parking lot.
I did, because I was going to post pictures.
I made him delete them.
Post pictures of your moobs online, but I didn't. So, but anyway,
Happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah, I know, right? But we hung out until, it was a little after 8. I think by the time we left.
And then we got on the road.
And
it was a drive.
We were
5 hours.
We were tired.
Yeah.
And, we stopped for food in Bloomington, and that
went to a Steak and Shake
and ate way too much, and that
all of us ordered chili, which was a horrible idea to be.
Horrible idea.
Yeah, hotboxed in a FJ Cruiser for another 3.5, 4 hours.
But we all ate, I think, too much, and at least in my case, it put me to sleep. I told Ange she took the next route. She was going to take the shift from Bloomington to Springfield. Then she was supposed to pull off at Springfield so that I could take over. And we were about 30 miles north of Springfield, and I shut my eyes and said, I'm going to rest for a bit. Let me know when we get there.
Yeah.
You guys didn't do that. You waited until we got to Farmersville.
We got to Springfield, and I leaned over to Angela and I said, hey, is baby Huey awake? And she just looked at me and just shook her head. And I said, you good to drive? I said, I'll take over. And she goes, oh, no, I'm good. So we made it to Farmersville, and then she decided, hey, I'm starting to get a little slug nutty. I want to pull over.
Yeah.
So we pull over at Farmersville. Well, Nick wakes up and has no idea where we are. So I told him we were still an hour north of Springfield.
And then he tells me, by the way, you're up for driving. And I'm thinking, I was supposed to drive at Springfield, but anyway, I didn't quite trust him, so that's when I got out Google Maps and determined that Farmersville is actually about 30 miles south of Springfield. Yeah. And so at that point, I took over driving and got us to my house. Yeah. And then from there,
I tried to talk him into driving me to Waterloo, but he wouldn't do it.
Well, yeah, because then how am I getting home?
You could have Ubered.
Uh-huh. At 3 a.m, I'm calling an Uber in Illinois to take me home. So
exactly. Good luck with that.
I know, right?
Yeah. But it was, the trip was so dumb, and the event at Ultimate was so good. It really, it gave us a good story to tell.
Oh.
Which we just did.
I mean, realistically, any trip you and I go on has elements of dumb.
Oh.
There's no way you and I are going to go on a trip and not have a dumb one. Which, speaking of which, we are going to be going on another trip this week. We're going to be heading out to Indianapolis.
We'll probably tell some of these same stories again that you'll never hear on the podcast.
Friday the 28th, we'll be hitting the road, heading to Indianapolis. That evening, I know my dad lives out in Indianapolis, so we're going to have dinner with my folks that night. And then possibly after that, we'll go find a lounge, and everything. And then Saturday, we are going to
a barrel burner event.
We are, but prior to that, actually,
you got something else
we're going to another event. Well, it's not really an event. I want to clarify in case they hear this and decide to hit us with some event fee or something like that. I swear to God, this is not an event.
We're just coming to smoke.
We're meeting up with Rob and anybody else who wants to meet up with us at Smoker's Choice in Brownsburg. We're thinking probably maybe in the neighborhood of noon 30.
Yeah.
Something
Whenever
like that.
we drag our happy asses out.
Exactly. But it's got a huge humidor. There's a bar next door and everything like that. So we're gonna head on over to Smoker's Choice in Brownsburg on Saturday. And then from there, we're going to make our way over to Sticks, where at 6 p.m. that night, the Barrel Burners are putting on an event. And that is not only an event with the Barrel Burners, it's also a Cigars for Warriors event.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll get to make some donations to Cigars for Warriors and help get the troops some sticks.
So if you are in and around Indianapolis, please come out and meet up with us. We'd love to get to know you. Exchange a few stupid stories and
like you said,
smoke some cigars.
Like you said, we're going to be telling the stories that we just, for legal reasons, probably don't want to ever say on any sort of pre-recorded podcast.
Based on the reactions that we got Saturday night, they should never make the podcast.
Well, that one especially, that I won't even tell, allude to.
Everyone was so appalled at us.
Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. So we will not be sharing those stories on the podcast, but
maybe someday.
Probably not.
We'll check into the statute of limitations and then we'll talk.
I think for right now, it's safe to say probably not, and that they are just going to be
too soon.
The stories that you hear in person.
Yes,
at a live event. So
We're so stupid.
Yeah.
We just really are. But we had a great time. And, you can check us out on the socials to see some photos from the event that we did.
Yep.
A lot of people reach out to us there on the socials.
We are on the socials, as Jeff calls it. And
Angela backed me up on that.
Yeah,
it is known as the socials in other circles.
So we're on Instagram at the Cigar Pulpit. We're also on Instagram on Naked Gator, Nekkid Gator.
My page. I actually posted a picture this week.
You did?
I did.
We're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and then you can also find us at cigarpulpit.com.
And we would be remiss if we didn't mention we're going to be smoking the Ave Maria coming up on Friday's cast.
That would be the Divinia?
Divinia? Yeah, but it's an $18 stick. It's the anchor for the February My Monthly Cigars box.
Yep.
And I want to point out that My Monthly Cigars is partnered with us, and I'll let Nick take it from there.
My Monthly Cigars is a premium cigar subscription service where you can get boxes of cigars shipped to your house every month. They have a variety of different size boxes. We get the Robusto box, which is 4 cigars for $30. They also have a box called the Presidente, I think.
You can hoard them all.
And it's 8 cigars for $50. Now, the 8 cigars, it's just 2 of each of those cigars that's in the Robusto box, so it's a really good box if you're maybe sitting out with your dad or your brother or a friend or something like that, and you want to have an experience where you're smoking the same cigar. And when you go and you sign up for My Monthly Cigars, use offer code PULPIT, PULPIT, to get either free shipping on the first order or 20% off any of the items in the store, because they do have an online store where you can purchase, other things, but then also cigars from the boxes in case your brick and mortar doesn't have them.
And on those boxes, there is an MSRP guarantee.
Yep, and so basically the MSRP of the cigars in the box is guaranteed to meet or exceed the price of the box. I think for the February box, it's like a $42, $43 value
somewhere in that range.
for $30. So, you're getting your money's worth out of it.
Well, and again, it's kind of like, I've noticed this with traveling to some of these events. Every humidor stocks different things. Like, you would think a cigar humidor would be a cigar humidor to shop, and it's not.
No.
And that's the beauty of the My Monthly Cigar Box. You're getting to branch out and try sticks that you may not normally get at your local brick and mortar. And if you like them, request them. See if they can get them in. Seek them out.
Exactly.
So, that being said, what are you getting on your stick here as we finish up?
I'm still getting the spicy and earthy flavors.
This was a big stick. I've got about a third of it left.
I'm on my last third. Maybe, just maybe, and I might just be completely wrong on this.
Okay.
Maybe there's a slight little itty bitty bit of like cocoa.
I'm not picking that up at all.
Just maybe a hair, but by and large, it's spice and earthy flavors.
It's getting peppery on the back third here for me. Mm-hmm. But it's been a good stick. I've enjoyed it.
Just inhaled smoke there.
And again, this is an AJ Fernandez.
It's the AJ Fernandez Diaz de Gloria.
It's all Nicaragua, all the time.
It is a Nicaraguan Puro.
Yes. And that Puro means all.
Yes.
Yes. Is that what that means?
That's what that means.
Okay. I assumed.
You did assume.
But I wanted to clarify.
You assumed correctly.
For once.
So, indeed. But anyway, so yeah. That's,
guys, come out and meet us in Indy this weekend, the 28th, 29th.
28th, 29th. Of February. And, we'll see where the Nick and Gator Traveling Freak Show and Cigar Evangelical Revival takes us after that.
Yes.
It's nothing on the docket as of right now.
Well, July for
July,
the convention out in Vegas.
There's Vegas. There's the PCA show out in Vegas.
And then we're also going to have Kansas City and the Weston Cigar Festival in the future there.
Yeah, but that's more September, October.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I mean,
stay tuned.
The nice thing about St. Louis is it's about a 4-hour drive from a lot of different cities. We could make our way down to like Memphis,
Kansas City, Chicago, Indianapolis. Yeah.
I mean,
Paducah.
even getting into like Ohio, it's not super
Tell me
far,
about
but
Ohio. What movie is that from?
I don't know.
The Patriot.
Oh, anyway.
They're talking about the land grants and what this, colonel's going to get if he takes out, Mel Gibson.
Oh, okay.
And he says, tell me about Ohio. It's a great line.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's round in the, what is it? Round on the front, round on the back, and high in the middle?
that could talk about a lot of things in my life.
Isn't that? I don't know. I'm trying to remember what the. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
well, guys, somehow by the grace of God, we survived this trip to Chicago because it was touch and go.
It was
but we
not
had a good
touch
time.
and go. It was.
Oh, you and I were at each other's throats most of the trip.
Friday night was a little obnoxious. I'll admit that. Saturday was fine.
The event was great.
Saturday was fine.
The event cured a lot of ills.
FOIA Fest sucked, but the event was fine.
And I've been to it many times and really enjoyed it. And yeah,
no, I won't be at it again. So that's
okay. they need to get back to their roots.
I'm not messing with it again.
Well, fair enough. I think we're actually working with a couple of organizations. We're in the Southern Illinois Editorial Association, and I think we're working with the Gateway Journalism Review to put one on in Southern Illinois. And we'll get back to the roots on that one.
I guess.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're making this happen.
This is a lot more your project than mine.
It's my passion, as we said earlier in the Ask the Boys.
Yep. So,
well, guys, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you so much. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell your enemies if you don't like us.
Yeah.
And, whatever.
If you love us, give us a review. If you don't like us, well, suck it.
Yep. This has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit.
Hallelujah.
I'm Nick. I'm
Gator.
And stay smoky, and we'll see you in Indianapolis later this week.